Hi, I'm Mike, and this is an intro. Alright, what we got here is the Freyalise Llanowar's Fury EDH deck. She's the new general, specifically mono-green planeswalker, that you can use from the 2014 Commander deck. Specifically the mono-green one. Yeah, I know, no one figured that one out, huh? But yeah, her first ability is to put out basically a Llanowar elf for 2. Second one, -2, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Her third one, which is why I won her in this deck, is to draw a card for each green creature you control. Now, what you're going to see is mostly, specifically, it's an elf deck, and it's actually one I had made before her. Originally, the general was Omnath. The problem is, he's Doombladed every single time I play him by my playgroup, which makes him not exactly the best choice. So, I'm switching over to Freyalise. Also, I've noticed the one little thing with him, he stalls out quickly if you run out of hand, because there's draw mechanics, but there's not enough to be reliable. So, her ult, which, in a deck with a lot of mana production, is quickly easy to turn around the game, and takes care of the draw problems. The fact that she adds into the exponential growth, probably, with her first ability, just helps. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Llanowar Elves, the old standby. Put down 1, get 1 next turn. It's a 1/1. It's an elf. It's the standby elf. Skyshroud Ranger. Tap it, put a land into play. Has to be at a sorcery speed, but it's any land. Sylvan Ranger. 1/1 elf for 2. But it lets you take a land card, specifically a basic, it'll be a forest in this deck, and put it into your hand. So you can cast it. Or, it's a land, you don't cast them. Elvish Visionary. Play her, draw a card. Nettle Sentinel. He's kind of an There's cards that require some things to be tapped, and he's very useful with that. Other than that, he's just in there because he's an elf. And he's a 1-drop, which isn't bad for a 2/2. Heritage Druid. One of the cards that work well with Nettle Sentinel. The other one being Birchlore Rangers. Specifically good with Nettle Sentinel because when this comes out on the field, 2 untapped elves, you can tap them for any color mana. This one untaps with every green creature you cast, or green spell. So you can easily start chaining things together if you have a lot of 1-drops in your hand. Arbor Elf. Untap target forest. Pretty simple. Elvish Archdruid. Exponential mana production for elves and a buff for all your elves. He's an old standby and very good for that reason. Wirewood Channeler. Yeah, exponential mana production. Wirewood Herald. Specifically, you use this guy to chump block someone big and scary, and then you get the elf you need to win into your hand. Well-Wisher. Exponential life based on elves. It's good to either draw up hate, like specifically someone will try and Doomblade this so you don't gain life, and then they just don't have it later when they have a bigger threat, and it's not this card. Essence Warden. This lets you sneakily gain life by just having other people cast creatures, or tokens. Also, it's really good when someone pulls out an infinite 1/1 combo, and they swing at you, only to realize that those 1/1s are just doing as much damage as you gave them as you gained life this turn, so nothing happens. Wood Elves. Search for a forest card, put into play. It comes in untapped. So this guy is essentially a 2/2 cost, or a 1/1 for 2 cost. Even though you pay 3 in, you get 1 back. And next turn you get an extra 1. Jorga Treespeaker. Pay 2 into her after she's out, and she taps for 2 mana. Pay enough into her, 10 total, and every elf gets the tap for 2 green mana ability. Viridian Joiner. He's an exponential green mana production, but only based on his power. So make him stronger, give him an equipment, give him buffs, and he taps for a lot more mana. Fierce Empath. Find the 6 converted mana cost or more creature in your deck, put it into your hand, and watch your opponents really get scared because this is a green deck. You're going to have the mana for it. Gyre Sage. Another guy who does exponential mana production based on how many counters it has. It has Evolve, so it can gain it on its own, Or just find a card that can give him counters. Like, say... Oh, where is it? Here it is. Immaculate Magistrate. It gives exponential counters based on elves you control to target creature. Tap, put them on. That's it. That's scary in its own right. Because it works well with the guys who produce mana, good. The fact that if you have enough elves out, you could inadvertently turn a 1/1, say, Nettle Sentinel, who's attacking, or that's a 2/2, but if someone lets it hit them and you have this guy out, you can end the game if you have enough elves out. Yeva, Nature's Herald. Green creatures you control have flash. She has flash. She's a 4/4 for 4 if nothing else. This lets you play around blue decks and all their crazy shenanigans. It lets you play around people who have a lot of control elements. It gives you abilities, and it gets you around the upkeep abilities, so it's almost like a functional haste for all your creatures, if you do it right. Moldiah Channelers. 3-drop 2/2 with the ability to let you play with your library top card revealed. Yay! Also, depending on what it is, you either get a +2 to your mana pool, because when it taps it does that, or it becomes a 5/5, which isn't bad. Elvish Harbinger. It lets you search out the elf you need. Yeah. And it also adds mana, so there's that too. Keeper of Progenitus. This one's interesting. Now, it doubles all the mana production from mountains, forests, and plains. Well, it adds 1, but the thing is, while it helps other players other than you, it does help you too. And if you say you're going to block with this guy, there's a few people who will probably go out of their way not to kill it, or specifically keep you alive for this effect. Crazier things have happened. Gaia's Herald. No more counter spells to your creatures. Yeah, that's what it does. No-Made Shepherd. Tap 4 untapped creatures you control, including itself, and destroy target artifact or enchantment. It's for when you know someone has control of the game because they have a bullshit enchantment out, and this just stops it. Or, if you're going against an equipment deck with something really scary, this stops it. Fauna Shaman. Discard the card in your hand, specifically the creature card, that you don't need. Get the one you do. Yeah, kinda broken. Now up, a few of the cards that aren't elves, but still useful. Beast Tracker, don't ask me how to pronounce the first word, I never could. It lets you search up creature cards. Specifically, maybe one with trample, like Soul of the Harvest, who turns all your 1-drop creatures into cantrips. Drop a Llanowar Elf. Draw a card! Gotta love it in a deck that really needs more card draw. This is one of the biggest and best solutions. Speaking of card draw, Yavimaya Elder. Sure, his death ability is to put 2 basic lands into your hand, but he also lets you draw a card when you sack him, specifically for 2 mana. Bellowing Tangleworm. He has Intimidate. He gives other green creatures you control Intimidate. If you're in an all-monocolored deck game, or someone's playing some other colors other than green, this is a win condition in its own right. Moldgraph Monstrosity. You can search this guy out with the 1 Beast Tracker, which is why it's in here as opposed to some other creatures. That said, I might switch him out later on. But when he dies, you get 2 random creatures back from your graveyard, which could help get you some really impressive cards. And if nothing else, it's an 8/8 Trampler, so it's not bad, especially since it's only a 7-drop. Acidic Slime, also something you search out with the Beast Tracker. The fact that it lets you destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land means that you can probably take care of a threat that you need gone. Karametra's Acolyte. Exponential green mana production based on the devotion to green. Very useful. Somberwald Sage. A 3-drop creature for 0/1, easy to kill, yeah, but it lets you add 3 mana of any color to your mana pool. You can only cast it on creature spells, but as you can see, there's quite a few creatures. Brutalizer Exarch. You can either get the creature card you need and put it on top of your library, or take the card that is on your opponent's field and is not a creature and put it on the bottom of theirs. say maybe that really, really annoying god they have out that hasn't reached its devotion limit yet, so it's not a creature, it's just an indestructible, really annoying enchantment, and you put it on the bottom of their library, and you don't have to deal with it anymore. I don't know how to say the first word, tracker. He takes any creature you've made really big and lets it fight another creature. It's basically spot removal on a creature, because this is a green deck and there's creatures who get very big. Say, Omnath. Okay, next up are a few of the bigger creatures who are a little more of a bomb. When they come into play, people know to be scared, such as Colossus of Akros. Now, you need 18 mana for 8 to get him out, 10 to make him monstrous, but once you do, and you will, because this deck has exponential mana production out of the wazoo. Yeah, it has a wazoo. It has a couple of them, actually, when you get going. It becomes a 20/20 Trampler indestructible. Yeah. Artisan of Kozilek. Technically, he also has an Annihilator too, but he's a 9/9 that reanimates when you cast him, and he's a 10/9. He's a very good card for any way you look at it. So is Pathraiser of Ulamog, a 9/9 Annihilator 3 for 11, who can only be triple blocked. Nothing less. He's just a big bomb. And, considering this is an elf deck with a lot of mana production, you can get him out really early and really screw someone over because of that. And the card people should hate me for, Spawnshire of Ulamog. He's a 7/11 for 10, with Annihilator 1. He can let you put out tokens for 4, but really, you're going to pay the 20 into him, and you can do it because this has exponential mana production out the wazoo, and you can cast all the Eldrazi. It's sad when using that little meme is actually an accurate description of what he does. You get all the Eldrazi from outside of the game, and they're yours. Now, in tournament play, it's from your sideboard, but if you're playing this guy, your sideboard is 15, or at least a couple really scary Eldrazi that will win you the game the second you get them out. And one Eldrazi spell that lets you counter any destruction spells countered at them, or sent at them. Alright, now just for honorable mentions, Mosswort Bridge, Hideaway, lets you get a creature, land, whatever card back whenever you do the cost. Pay a green, tap it, and whenever you have total power 10 or greater on the board, either dispersed between creatures or concentrated in one or some mix of that, you get it. It's, a good card. Rogue's Passage. If you have someone who's huge and you need them to hit, pay 4, tap this, they get unblockable. It's a win condition in a lot of decks. And if you go with the original general, who was easy to Doomblade, specifically this guy, he's useful. Now, again, that's the original general. Instead, you're going to have Freyalise. So you're actually going to find a better chance of drawing this card because of her last ability. As odd as that sounds, she actually works better with this. Now, just some cards that are not... Okay, some of them are win conditions, but they're mostly meant to help, such as Horizon Spellbomb. It gets you the land, and if you have enough mana when you cast it, or use its abilities, you can draw a card too. 1000-Year Elixir. It's functional haste for abilities. So anything with exponential mana production, or just a tap ability, you can do it sooner. And for one, you can untap target creature. For the exponential ones, this actually pays for itself really quickly. Luxon Warhammer. Yeah, lifelink, trample, +3/+0. He's just solid. Whisper Silk Cloak. For when you don't want something to be killed because it gives him Shroud. And unblockable too, but the Shroud's actually more useful. Okay, maybe the unblockable. It really depends on what your situation. Doubling Cube. If you have a lot of mana and you want more, this does it. Excuse me. Gauntlet of Power. Now, it's a 5-drop that doubles your mana. It's going to be green mana because this is a green deck. But it also buffs your creatures. Now, it gets everyone, so they're all included in this. So, just be aware of that. Otherwise, it's a useful card. Almost as good as Caged Sun. It's the exact same thing as the previous card, except it's only you, so it's a little better. Now, here's an interesting one. Sure Strike Trident. It's a 2-drop equipment with a 4 equip cost. And its ability is, Tap target creature. Unattached Sure Strike Trident. Target creature deals damage equal to its power to target player. I don't need to explain why that can be very, very good. Because if you have a few champions who have been buffed up, that's a win condition. So are these two cards. Umbral Mantle and Sword of the Parans. Yeah, both have the same effect. If you put them onto an exponential mana production creature, and as long as they produce 4 mana, pay 3 into it, keep 1, untap, do it again. It's infinite mana. With the one exception that this one buffs all your guys depending on the position by 2, but doesn't go any further. Umbral Mantle, though, if you use it right, can turn your infinite mana also into infinite attack and defense, or toughness and power. It makes it so that if even a single creature hits your opponent, the game ends. And Nim Deathmantle, because when you have 4 mana, and you will have 4 mana, you can save a creature that dies. It's an instant speed, so if you have enough mana right away, you just keep your creatures from dying at instant speed. How can that possibly go bad for your opponent? It's great for you. Now some other cards. Quest for Renewal. If you get the counters out, you can untap during your each other player's untap step, which can backfire quickly on them, or work well for you, especially if you have instant speed casting, which there's a card that does that. Harmonize. Draw 3 cards. Again, Freyalise is better for this because of the card draw, but this is a solid card too. Harrow, more land. Cultivate, more land. Elvish Guidance. Now, this is an odd one. It's an enchantment land, but whenever a land is tapped for mana, its controller adds green to its mana pool equal to the number of elves in play. There's going to be a lot of elves in play, and, include that with the one elf I showed previously that untap target forest. This card can really change a game for early on. Boundless Realms, just more land, specifically equal to number of lands in play, doubles them. Praetor's Council, basically refilling your from your graveyard to your hand, actually. So, late game, this is quite useful. Now, you have to still deal with the fact that you can be milled out, but it'll give you options really quickly. Gravity Well. No more flying when they attack. You don't have many flying guys in this creature, so it only helps you. Hall of Gemstone. If there is ever a mono green deck, and this is not a card in there, it's because they don't know about it. During each player's upkeep, that player chooses a color. Until end of turn, each mana-producing land of the chosen color, basically, it stops a lot of monocolor decks. It always stops multicolor decks. It makes it so all lands produce that color mana. You're a green deck, or at least with this, you're always going to choose green. Now, it can screw you over if you have any play set up where you're playing in someone else's turn. But really, this is just a good card to really slow down your opponents if they have some kind of BS going. Next up, Gaia's Touch. It lets you play an additional forest each turn. It has to be a basic forest, but there's a lot of basic forests. And you can sack this at any time for 2 mana, specifically green mana. So, useful. Soul's Majesty. Draw cards equal to the power of target creature that I control. Or you control, but yeah, you get that. Yeah, it fills up your hand. It's a stand-in for when Freyalise has either been removed somehow, or she's just not up to it yet. Beast Within. Destroy target permanent. They get a 3/3 beast creature token, but really, destroy target permanent at instant speed. I don't think to say more, I think. Green Sun Zenith. This card is amazing. The fact that this is a solid green deck with a few exceptions, it's even better. If you get this, and you have the mana, and you will have the mana, you find the card you need. It can set you up to win. Or, you can just do this. Genesis Wave. It would not be unusual to play out your deck with this. Yeah. And so, yeah. That's most of the deck. There's also the lands, but I'm not going to bother showing you them. And for some reason, I can't seem to find my one copy of the other exponential card. 2-drop elf. Does mana equal to elves. Not sure where I put that card. It should be in here. I seem to be missing it. But other than that, yeah. This is the deck. Hope you enjoyed it. Later.